Hello everybody! On this video I'm gonna show you how to turn this progression into this progression. And in doing so, hopefully I will be able to tell you about the subdominant chord and how is it that it functions in tonal music. So, tonal music, we said, uses major and minor scales. Why don't we think about these numbers as a major scale? This one will be our center of gravity, our tonic. And we have been talking a lot about this note, the fifth scale degree, the dominant, right? Today we're going to talk about the subdominant, that scale degree that is not a fifth above the tonic, but a fifth below the tonic, hence its name. Since we know that tonal music uses tertian chords, we know that the subdominant has scale degree 4, 6, and 1. So let's go to our stability, instability spectrums. The notes of the subdominant chord will be here, here, and here. And if you just look at it, you can see that the subdominant, tension-wise, it's somewhere in the middle between the tonic and the dominant. It's a little more tense than the tonic, but it's definitely not as tense as the dominant. Let's use the key of B flat major as an example. The fourth chord would be an E flat major. Check it out. This is the first way in which we usually find this chord functioning in tonal progressions. The little trick, the little adventure that music has when it comes from tonic goes to the warm tension of the subdominant before coming back to a repose of tonic. It has less tension than the dominant, but it is still enough to make the turn of music interesting. That is the first way in which it functions. Let me use this spot in the video to tell you that the subdominant has the same quality as the tonic. In a major key, the subdominant is major. In a minor key, the subdominant is going to be minor as well. With this, let's go to the second way in which the subdominant works and in which we can find this chord in tonal progressions. A lot of times, since the subdominant has that middle tension between the tonic and the dominant, a lot of times in progression, it serves to fill that gap in between those two chords. So a lot of times you will find tonic going to the subdominant before progressing to the dominant and finally coming back to tonic. When the subdominant functions in this way, we call it a predominant function, and we're gonna talk more about that as the class continues. It isn't unusual to find progressions that use both ways of the fourth chord in the same phrase. This is an example, for example. How many roads must a man walk down before you call him a man? Right? Goes from 1 to 4 to 5 to 1 the first time, and the second time it goes from 1 to 4, coming back to 1. Let me tell you a couple of extras about the subdominant chord. When it happens at the end of the progression, at the point of cadence, we're going to call that a plagal cadence. We're going to mark it as PC. Plagal cadence. And something else that happens a lot is that even in a major key, the fourth chord will be borrowed by its minor counterpart. So a lot of times music will go from 1 to minor 4 to major 1 again in major keys. I'm going to put the link to 2 videos that talk about this specific example from very cool perspective. So in this class, most of the time you're going to be working with tonal music in the style of common practice, of the European music from 1650 to the end of the 1900s. And there are some paradigm considerations to take into account when using the subdominant chord. This is one. When the tonic is going to the subdominant and back, it's very easy because it has one note in common. So if that one stays in common, all the others just slide in and out of the chord. Is very easy. Now, when you're playing with the subdominant, but you're taking it to the dominant chord, in this case to an F major chord, this is what you are going to want to. Right? They're only a step apart, so you're gonna want to bump all the notes a whole step, so you have the next chord. If you do this, this is what is gonna happen. parallel fifths, and parallel octaves. Right? So if you want to avoid that, something that it's very useful to think about is to take the bass and the upper voices in different directions. You take the bass up, then take all the upper voices down. And that avoids any parallelism. So do that when you're parading with the dominant chord, with the subdominant chord. With that being said, let me show you the trick. This is the original progression. 1, 5, back to 1. Check it out. Now I know that I can add a 4, a subdominant in the middle of those two chords. That looks exactly like this one. Now, I know that I can delay the appearance of the dominant by using a 1/6/4 in the point of cadence, a cadential 6/4. If I use that, it sounds like this. So a little cooler. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but I did this. I added an E flat here, making this an F7 and a 5/7, and since that is one of my tendency tones, I took it to a D and took this soprano to a B flat, so it sounds a little different. And it leaves me with a problem. Now, since I resolved that complete dominant 7th in root position, now I have an incomplete tonic, right? This tonic has 3 roots, a 3rd, and has no 5th. So here's a trick using the subdominant. After having that incomplete chord, I can take this up to a subdominant while leaving the tonic on the bass, which will give me a 4/6/4, and then I can bring it back home to tonic. But now I have a 5th and my chord is completed. If I play the whole progression, it will sound like this. All of this works exactly the same in a minor key, by the way. So in this video we talked about the subdominant chord in tonal music. How is it that it usually functions? How is it that it works within functional or tonal harmony? And some parading considerations when we're writing exercises with it. I hope you enjoy it, and that's it. Have a good one. Bye bye.